southwest to the northeast. And we're watching some of those reds move back into that tornado warned area. So I still watch very carefully in case some of these try to redevelop. Looks like we lost one of the severe thunderstorm warnings for places like Warren County. So some good news there, Micah.
Yeah, we are not looking towards that severe thunderstorm warning. That just being dropped. But we're still continuing to keep our eye towards those more northern counties. We are still talking about those southern counties, Franklin, in towards Simpson County, Logan County. Even if you're over towards Allen County and Scottsville, still keep an eye out on the sky, as this will still be potentially a strong storm, just not looking towards that parameter of 58 miles an hour that we're talking about for severe thunderstorm warnings when it comes to that. But continue to keep our eye on Edmonson County and the northern part of Warren County, as little bits of areas around there, as well as towards Grayson County, where they're seeing tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning.
I feel like this line may have slowed down just a little bit now that it's in our area, because we're not getting, we're still running live radar, but the updates aren't looking as promising as getting through very quickly. So this thing may take a little while longer to move through than what I initially anticipated, because it was rolling across western Kentucky earlier tonight, and now it seems to have slowed down just a little bit. Of course, we were looking at two lines. Those lines have phased together. Chris mentioned that earlier. We were all texting each other earlier. He mentioned that he thought they would phase together, and that's exactly what happened. Often happens in storms like this, but now we're looking at these tornado warnings, still looking at basically Brownsville north. Looks like that's where the most impressive storms are located, but we're also looking to the south, some reds in here trying to migrate back into that tornado warning. So I'm very interested to see what the National Weather Service does with this box. I would say, you're tempted to at least say, that these storms to the south back towards the Tennessee border aren't as impressive because the watch was allowed to expire, but the fact that they're holding together so well, still lots of reds, and it looks like maybe, I was talking about this line not looking as impressive a few minutes ago, that it wasn't holding together. I kind of feel like this area south of Russellville may be looking like it's redeveloping just a little bit, at least solidifying, because it doesn't look as fuzzy as it did on the radar, and that's one of the things I look at. Back towards Hartford, back towards Central City, I would call that fuzzy. It's not as well organized as what some of these others are. That's what this line from south of Bowling Green towards the Tennessee border was starting to look like now. It looks a little more sharply defined, and that's why I think that maybe there's a little bit more redevelopment. Not saying that it's going to be a warm storm, but just saying that maybe it looks like it's packing a little more punch than what it was a few minutes ago. And so that's one of those things that we definitely don't want to let our guard down, Michael.
Yeah, I'll look at the Mesonet in just a second here, but we are getting a report from the Mesonet site in Grayson County of 62 miles an hour, just about, I'd say, 8 minutes ago from the Mesonet station in Litchfield. That's just about 3 miles west of that municipality. But we are going to continue to see that Boeing section. You see it pretty profoundly in towards the area. Wind speeds right now, from estimates from our radar, 28 miles an hour. Bowling Green, 18 towards Louisville. Throughout this region, it's been a breezy day. We've seen these numbers pretty much all day.
I recorded this off my antenna over the air.
And I want to point out something too. If you want to know where the cold front is, take a look at this. This basically is a white line. These are arrows converging. Everything's moving up from the south east of the front, and then west of the front we're starting to westerly, and then the northwesterly flow. All this convergence, and that's where those storms are basically being stretched into the atmosphere, and that's why they're reaching those severe levels. But I wanted to point out the wind speeds along that front. We've been looking at gusty winds all day, and here's what we're seeing right now. As far as those temperatures, I know we got more stuff on the radar, but I'm using this to prove a point. As far as the temperatures right now, of course, we're not getting data in on that, but my suspicion is that to the west we're seeing these temperatures drop because we have the yellows, which suggest slightly cooler temperatures. And then look at this sharp contrast with the blues. This is what we saw Wednesday night. We just didn't have the level of severity with those storms, but this is that cold air that's moving in on the flip side of that cold front, and this is one of the reasons that we're seeing all of this severe weather activity. It's not just the change in temperatures that's driving these storms, but cold fronts give you a natural amount of lift in the atmosphere. Good news, by the way, I was watching, it was mentioned earlier, the back half of that tornado warning has been carved away. Brownsville, you folks are still in the path of the storms, and looks like it's entering Brownsville right now. But some good news, some of this has been carved away. Still, though, we need to watch for Bowling Green south, because, again, those storms have quite a bit of red to them, and it looks like maybe they packed a little bit of a punch. So hopefully they're not re-intensifying, but it's something that we definitely need to be watching over the next little bit, Micah.
Yeah, we are continuing to see that push over towards the east, able to see that cut down, thankfully, and we might see the same when it comes to that just northern storm in just a couple of minutes here that incorporates Litchfield, because yes, we did just talk about 62 to 67 mile per hour wind gusts in Litchfield, but now that that's passed, I'm pretty sure that they're pretty much out of the woods, other than what's behind it, which is stratiform rain, maybe a bit heavy at times, and a little bit gusty as well.
And Cub Run, you're now starting to see the leading edge of the heaviest stuff move in on you, so be on the lookout. Hopefully you've got your safe space. And then just to the south of Brownsville, you're on the leading edge. Bee Spring, you're about to clear the heaviest stuff. Sweden, you're kind of in the middle of it. Windyville, you have a little bit more to move through. It's broken up somewhat, but you still have some heavier stuff. And then, of course, Horse Cave, not far off from this, will be watching you folks. Currently, you're not in a warning. I suspect that there will be a severe thunderstorm warning issued just to the south of Munfordville. You are in this as well, so you have to watch very carefully. And then, folks, east of I-65, we're watching out for you too. We're going to be here over the next several hours. Don't know if you can hear it. You can hear the heavy rain on the roof of WNKY right now. Of course, this is that red moving into Bowling Green, and it's going to continue to move across the area. Right now, crossing I-65 as it gets to Bowling Green. A little further south, though, still to the west of I-65. Of course, we'll be watching as it crosses Franklin. You folks are going to be seeing some heavy storms, not severe, but strong. What we refer to as basically regular thunderstorms. If it's a strong storm, it's a regular thunderstorm. Still, though, there are some purples with that, so likely seeing some small hail in those, just not enough to reach severe capacities like that.
Yeah, you talked about those mesonet sites and how they weren't pulling up. And what I just pulled up on the mesonet site, of course we can't see them here, but back here at home, in south of Kentucky, we're into those upper 60s to near 70 degrees. But over towards Davis County, in towards northwestern part of the Commonwealth, is right around 42 degrees right now. So that's what we've got coming for us after these showers and thunderstorms pass.
Davis County is in Owensboro. You could have said Owensboro, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a drastic change, and of course, still lots to talk about as far as the potential for severe storms out here. But we're looking at temperatures dropping, and even likely could see some snow in the next few hours. It almost seems unfathomable when you think how warm it was here, and now we're talking about tornado warnings. But we're going to shift back to winter for a couple of days, and there is a possibility now, this is just the data that's developed since Friday night, it's a possibility that some of these snow showers that we'll be working through could actually cause some slick spots over the next couple of days, so it's something that you'll have to watch for. But we're still watching this tornado warning. Brownsville, you folks are still in the tornado warning. Munfordville, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, and then off to the south of that, Glasgow, you're currently only in a tornado watch. We're watching this carefully, though, because there's a possibility that some of these storms could still pack a punch. Don't let down your guard, especially this time of night, but we're watching very carefully as these storms advance across the area, now starting to move across I-65 in the northern two-thirds of the News 40 viewing area. It won't be long until all of them have moved across I-65. Behind that, back towards Elkton, still some heavy rain out there in Russellville. You're on the back edge of that heavy rain as well. Over the next several hours. Again, east of I-65, Glasgow, Edmonton, no warnings for you folks yet, but the atmosphere is still primed in that area because you're just starting to see rain move in. You're likely feeling some wind gusts from the outflow from these storms as they move through. Right now, though, not seeing any development east as far as an outflow boundary. We talked about these storms having two lines that they kind of merged over the last few hours. That secondary line that formed ahead of the original line, I call that hot-scotching. I have for years since before I became a meteorologist. That is the outflow, and that's a line that forms. And a lot of times, it robs the energy from the original line of storms. Did not happen tonight. They merged. It looked like maybe they were robbing that secondary, the primary line of storms. Did not happen. They merged, and then, excuse me, this is what we got from it. We got a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings and even a couple of tornado warnings for our viewing area, and that's why we're here tonight, to make sure that you stay safe. We're going to take a look at this kind of, we're already zoomed out. I'm going to zoom in, though, on these storms because we still have these tornado warnings for the next few minutes, and they should be expiring in the next 6 minutes or so, but still Broadford, Cub Run, you're seeing those showers and storms. Looks like some purples in the middle of that. I just heard some thunder outside the studio, so we are getting the thunderstorms maybe Bowling Green. But look at those purple patches. That tells me there's quite a bit of velocity, quite a bit of turbulence with that, and likely seeing some hail with that. I'm going to go to some of the tower cams because I just saw a pretty impressive lightning strike in downtown Bowling Green. This is the Florida Templeton AAA tower cam. And you can see, look at that rain hitting that camera lens right now. So, yeah, you can see those, look at those waves of rain moving across the Fountain Square Park out there. So we're getting the heavy rain, we're getting some heavy winds. And keep in mind, we are not currently in a warning. So that should tell you that even without a warning, excuse me, we can still have some pretty impressive storms. And of course, you just saw that flash of lightning over the buildings there at Fountain Square Park, Micah.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like a lot of heavy rain up there, continuing with the windy conditions that we've seen all day today. Started late last night, going into this morning, those started to really pick up. As you were outside today, you noticed how much wind that we had. It was breezy all day, and the same goes for right now, which is that again, that heavy rain. Now, again, but this is not severe warning. We are seeing a special weather statement with this. We're not looking towards anything severe. And there's another more expanded look towards downtown Bowling Green, showing all of that heavy rain that we've got going on here in downtown Bowling Green. And, well, if you're in Simpson County, if you're in Allen County and Barron County, this holds even as a special weather statement. This is what we could be seeing in towards that downtown Glasgow camera in just about 45 minutes away from it.
Yeah, I can't imagine being driving in this because the visibility is horrible right now. On Facebook Live, maybe that you're hopefully the passenger in a car, streaming in your car, truck or SUV. If you're about to run into this, get to a safe space, pull over, not under a bridge or overpass, but find a good parking lot where you can pull over and ride this out, because this is not good to drive it. Number one, you can have hydroplaning on the roads, but also just trying to see from this rain, it's miserable whenever your windshield wipers can't keep up with it. Of course, a lot of times you can't see the car in front of you, and that just creates a dangerous situation. I'm going back to radar mode now. I want to point out one thing. I don't remember if I said it on the air. I said it on Facebook earlier tonight, but one thing that we're looking at is with the winds that we've seen today. We saw high winds the other day. We've had a lot of wind so far this season, and that tends to weaken trees. That tends to weaken shingles on your home. So damage we're seeing potentially tonight just from straight line winds before these storms roll through, and now these storms are rolling through, could put the icing on the cake, so to speak, with anything that was weakened earlier today or from previous storms. And that's why we could see some down trees, some down power lines, even like roof damage, people damage, even without these warned storms rolling through your area. So the reason I say that is, you know, a lot of times we see damage from storms like this, trees get uprooted, but it's not necessarily just this storm. It is the culmination of storms, all of this wind that we've experienced over the last few weeks, months, even years. We get heavy rain like this, it tends to moisten the soil, liquefies it a little bit, and then you get a heavy wind gust, and those trees come down. So just keep that in mind. If you're getting some gusty winds tonight, you may think, well, it's not that bad. You wake up tomorrow morning and you think, well, there's a tree. A lot of times, that's what it is. A lot of times you can see shingles torn off of houses. It's not necessarily just this storm, even though we are having some high winds out there, but we are seeing just a culmination of repeated injury to these shingles, repeated damage to the shingles and the trees, Micah.
Yeah, we continue to look at those tornado warnings into the northern counties, continue to keep our eye on even those areas that aren't severe warning. From the Mesonet site, last check, almost 40 miles an hour wind gusts. And Scott, we talked about your thunderstorm warnings, what damaging winds can come with that, but 40 per hour wind gusts can do some damage itself, as we're looking towards probably some power outages, or at least adding on to what we already have when it comes to power outages very soon. But you look over towards really a kind of a triangle of severe those tornado warnings that you're looking at there right now towards then Bonnyville and Run right now just north of Munford Park.
Yeah, the one thing I want to point out too is the latest update for radar input that we got. Again, this is looking less organized, so that's some good news, but still, you're still under that warning. So just assume that you still have a potential tornadic storm over you right now. It's not passed by you. And also, another thing that I want to point out is with these storms moving through, of course, we were talking about the repeated injuries, the repeated damage to those trees and those shingles. You know, this is one of those situations that once the system moves through, we're still going to have some windy conditions across the area tonight and tomorrow. So just because the storms pass, that doesn't mean that we are in the clear as far as the winds. We will still see some gusty winds even after skies clear. And unfortunately, as those temperatures cool on down, didn't be on that because I wanted to see Junction of where the tornado warning and the leading edge of that storm is as it goes into Munfordville. And now, looks like that tornado warning is right on the edge of Munfordville. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. Mike, do you have any new information for us?
Yeah, we're looking towards those tornado warnings. They were going to go until 10:45, and actually that is, I believe, one of them has now get chopped off. And well, I want to point out that yes, we're looking towards some strong storms, even some severe storms across the region right now. But we're going to have to come off air. We'll possibly go back to streaming on our Facebook page. But once these tornado warnings move on towards the east, what I want to point out is yes, we're looking towards cool temperatures. Somebody in there is questioning whether you meant that there was going to be snow, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, that was not I said that. And it's hard to believe. And by the way, you mentioned that we would be on here during the tornado warnings. I want to make sure that we get Munfordville cleared out of this, and it's our official viewing area. But keep in mind, if we do off the air because we don't have any more warning, just stick around here because quite real estate east of I-65. So just if we lose these warnings and don't get any more for a few minutes, that does not necessarily mean we're in the clear. I'm not scared anyone when I say that, but just know that we are going to be here watching out on the radar to make sure that you stay informed. The eastern half of the viewing area, yeah, you folks still have to experience these storms. The western half of the viewing area, it's down to heavy rain and some gusty winds. But right along I-65, that is basically the dividing line, halfway mark for these storms. We are here. This is basically halftime as far as the storm is concerned. Now we have the eastern part of the viewing area to look at, and now it looks like we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning that includes in Scottsville, Micah.
Yeah, that is the one that we were talking about that was putting out now 41 mile per hour wind gusts over towards Warren County, that southern mesonet side across the Kentucky mesonet at WKU. And this is what we've been watching. It's a strong storm. It's been going towards a special weather state. We'll say 15 minutes. Now back to severe standards when it comes to pushing over towards Scottsville, Allen County, and Glasgow in Barron County.
And so we're going to put a track on this just to get an idea as to what's happening with this storm and when you can expect it. Oakland, 10:51, so in about 4 more minutes. Smiths Grove, 10:54. Park City, 11:04. Glasgow, 11:20. So you folks are going to be dealing with this for about 33 more minutes or so before it passes through that. So, yeah, just because that you see it moving towards your area, you may see lightning in the distance. It's still a little bit ways off. The reason I say that, though, is this is a severe thunderstorm warning, but it still means you need to stay inside and move away from windows because if lightning, it can actually strike window frames. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you are driving, I mentioned this earlier, if you're driving, you're the path of one of these storms, even though it's likely not a tornado warning since now we only have one going for a corner of Hart County. Still, these storms are packing a punch, and if you're along or east of I-65, it is going to be a nightmare trying to drive in this. I'm going to go back to one of our cameras because I'm sitting in one of the monitors here in the studio, and it is quite the show from Mother Nature. Look at this. We're looking at torrential rain out there, and plenty of flashes of lightning. People trying to drive. It's hard to see, especially after dark, in these storms. Sometimes it's hard to see the pavement, it's hard to see the cars, the trucks in front of you, and your windshield wipers likely will not keep up with it. So be vigilant out there. If you know these storms are coming, try to make plans to be off the road for that. Of course, some of these could be giving some hail with them, so you don't want to be driving into a hailstorm and risking damaging your car. This is another look at the radar, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit just so you can see what's going on. But we still have that tornado warning that does include Munfordville. You're right on the brink of that tornado warning, but still, the heaviest stuff actually looks like it may be towards Hodgenville when I see the purples on there, but still, the tail end of that storm could get Munfordville. I don't want to exclude you all because you still need to make sure you're seeking shelter. The good news is it's close to passing Munfordville over the next several minutes. Micah, do you have any more information for us?
Well, this new severe thunderstorm warning is going until we reach about, I believe, 11:30 Central Time. So this includes Allen, Barron, Edmondson, Hart, Metcalf, Simpson, Warren. This is with possible 60 mile per hour wind gusts. We did see produce about 45 as it made its way throughout Bowling Green. It's continuing to move throughout Bowling Green, bringing heavy winds, heavy rain, is pushing its way over towards Allen County and Scottsville and Glasgow and Barron County. And what you saw just a minute ago was downtown Bowling Green, Mountain Square Park, and you hear the thunder right there. Across in towards our downtown Bowling Green section here, we are continuing to see those conditions towards Bowling Green and making their way over towards the east, and we'll continue to keep updated as to what these wind gusts really look like.
Yeah, it's hard to see right now in downtown Bowling Green. Visibility is horrible right now according to these cameras. We'll take a look at Glasgow because you folks are in that new severe thunderstorm warning right now. We looked at you earlier and nothing really happened, just some breezes blowing, and right now it doesn't look too bad out there, but this is literally the calm before the storm because you have a lot of severe thunderstorms moving into your area. So yeah, it looks like some traffic in the square in downtown Glasgow. Excuse me. Again, if you're in downtown Glasgow or in Glasgow proper, this is a time where you want to make sure you get home before these storms hit because it's going to be tough driving on those roads out there. Just to see what's going on with this line of storms out there. Only one tornado warning in the area, so good news of that. But the bad news is it does include Munfordville, and we're staying on our toes until this crosses Munfordville, and you folks are clear from that in Hart County. But we're watching that tornado warning over the next several minutes as that system moves through and try to get another look at that. So it actually expires 11:30, so we're still looking at that tornado warning, the complete tornado warning for the next 39 minutes or so. What normally happens is once these storms clear a certain area in tornado warning area, so maybe half of it, the National Weather Service tends to pare that box back. So we'll be watching for that. But right now, it looks like the heaviest stuff is about to cross through, or maybe just to the north of Hodgenville, and then plenty of reds, even though it looks a little broken up, plenty of reds near Munfordville, so you're not in the clear just yet. And then you still have the warning on top of that tornado warning. So basically, all along I-65, and now a little bit to the east, we have severe thunderstorm warnings, and just from Huntersville north, we have those tornado warnings right there.
Yeah, just behind this, we are starting to continue to see these tornado watches get really chopped down as Todd County, Muhlenberg County, McLean County, and Davis County over towards the west are now without a tornado watch. And we'll see the same over these next couple of hours. Once you get past these tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings, once the brunt of this really comes across, we're not going to be looking at severe weather. We're just looking at cold, bitterly cold temperatures when we compare it to what we've seen over these last couple of weeks. We've seen record temperatures in warmth over these last couple of weeks. Now we're looking towards possibly bringing the coast back up.
Yeah, you mentioned the warnings and the watches were being pared back. Russellville, you folks are now out of the tornado watch because just some heavy rain now, some gusty winds, but you do have that high wind advisory, so you're in the clear for the most part, but you could still have some gusty winds. The problem with this is if you have any damage from storms that roll through, there's a chance that these winds will continue to cause damage or blow around anything that got detached from, say, a house or a car or even damage in your yard. So in mind, as far as the radar is concerned, we're going to go back to that because most of the area is still seeing that watch. And officially it runs until 2 o'clock in the morning, but it is being pared back as it wants to move hopefully the next hour. Everyone west of I-65 will be clear of it, but we are seeing that tornado warning still for Hart County. Just need to get that cleared. We've got tornado warnings for the News 40 to get cleared. We're still dealing with this severe thunderstorm, still packing a punch, and I mentioned these storms along the Kentucky-Tennessee border just to the south of Bowling Green look like maybe they were refiring. This is exactly what happened. Better defined now, fuzzy on the radar, better defined, and that's why 13 lightning strikes on the line and still seeing the. If you want to put that on velocity just to see what's going on with the wind,
I will point out that it's Simpson County with a 47-mile-per-hour wind gust right now. From the last check from the Mesonet site in towards Simpson County, the same goes for Warren County, 37 miles an hour, 34 in towards Allen County. We're starting to see a lot of these gusty winds outflow, and then the system.
And check this out. So this is just an interesting point. So we normally use this to track tornadoes, not track tornadoes south of Brownsville. Don't want to scare anyone, but this is a couple points. It's very interesting to see that green on the velocity because this is the front that's moving through. These are the severe warm storms, so we don't see circulation, but this just goes to show you we have quite a bit in the way of gusty winds out there. You can go back to regular radar now, Micah.
Yeah, we've got somebody asking if Bowling Green is in clear or if they still have to stay weather aware over these next, we'll say 30 minutes.
Over the next 30 minutes, I would say weather aware because we're still in a severe thunderstorm warning, and what that means is we have those gusty winds, we have the small hail. Do you have a reading on the hail? I'm thinking it's probably 3/4 of an inch or less.
Yeah, it's going to be very minor, similar to what we've been talking about all week. We're not really looking towards that being a major hazard,
Right.
but it's a possibility, and 3/4 of an inch looks to be the maximum.
Weather aware for 30 minutes or so because we have some heavy rain out there, some frequent lightning. You can hear the thunder over us. Probably hear it loud and clear in here. I'm seeing on one of our monitors, we have one of our monitors in here with that tower, so we can see the flashes of lightning on it. So yeah, stay weather aware for the next half hour. So really, whenever we're here from the watches, the tornado watch, stay weather aware because the gusty winds out there. Because like I said, it can still blow things around. It could maybe the storm blew something in your yard that didn't belong to you, and then you have to deal with debris blowing around your yard. Any trees, any damaged trees, we have some gusty winds behind the front that could blow those tree limbs down. So lots to look out for, and not really going to know what we're dealing with sunrises tomorrow, even from those straight line winds. And it looks like maybe just a little bit, but it looks like not. So, a few more minutes, we're going to continue to watch this kind of storms as it moves through, especially for our county, because most folks have the edge of those storms moving through Cumberland. You are about to be on the back edge on upward. Things lightening up pretty nicely for you all, but Munfordville now seeing the worst of those storms move through. And again, once you're south of Munfordville, these go into severe thunderstorm warnings. That we have the gusty winds with us, the frequent lightning, and the heavy rain. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but we definitely hear it on the roof here right now.
Yeah, we are even people watch it online, on our Facebook page, WNKY Television, from just south of the Kentucky-Tennessee border. To talk about Portland, Tennessee, looking towards the wind is absolutely crazy there, and that would be pretty consistent to what we see in Franklin as they're looking towards those wind gusts being 40 feet and close to 50 miles an hour. This is packing a punch, and this is why the reason why we saw this get turned back into a severe thunderstorm warning is because of those damaging winds. But as you see right there, there is a tornado warning just towards our south. Nothing to be concerned about when it comes to the News 3 viewing area, but if you're tuning in just south of that Kentucky-Tennessee border, it's a little bit to that tornado warning that's just north of the Nashville metro.
Yeah, this is Nashville right now. For the heaviest rain now, heaviest storms. Springfield is clear, and it looks like Franklin now is clear enough from the heaviest of the storms. So good. The bad news is, you folks have those heavy storms on the way, and I want to zoom in just a little bit more on this, the radar down just a little bit, because here's what I'm seeing, and this is what I'm watching all night. This may not be anything, but we do have some kinks in that line of storms moving through Woodburn, Drake, and Old City. Watching that very carefully. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, but again, I mentioned it earlier, looked like it was weakening somewhat, and then it looked like it was refiring, and it wasn't long after that we got that severe thunderstorm warning. And what that means is we have some heavy wind with that, some heavy rain, some frequent lightning, and some small. Again, the wind being the largest problem that we're seeing from this line of storms, but still something that we need to watch carefully over the next 4 minutes. Again, watching though, because it looks like maybe a little bit of a bow trying to form just to the east of Franklin, and that line heading towards Scottsville. As far as Munfordville, you are right off the southwestern corner of tornado warning, so the worst of the stuff looks like trying to move through. There is some heavier stuff that's part of that severe thunderstorm warning that you folks are going to be dealing with for the next little bit. I'll zoom in. It's like you're right between those reds, so still some heavy storm in the yellow that will go off the state. Some of that severe thunderstorm activity again on the southwestern corner of the tornado warning that runs for the next few minutes. As we see, we're going to stay on the air until this area of the tornado warning is carved away. We don't have any more warnings. We're looking at a regular program. We want to make sure that is staying informed as these roll through. And again, I'm going to zoom out and you can see activity on this radar. But right now, crossing I-65, so you focus to the east of I-65, Glasgow, eventually Edmonton, you're going to see those storms. As a matter of fact, Scottsville, you're almost on the edge of the storms as they're trying to pivot to the north. We've seen this line pivot from west to east now, the main line, these individual storms moving from the southwest to the northeast. That's normally how it happens. Are you seeing any reports of any damage from these, Micah?
No, just those wind, the wind gusts we're seeing, which are
destructive, severe
all
thunderstorm
I'm seeing
warning.
when it comes to damage, as we saw in towards Litchfield, talking about people losing power, 1,400 people losing power there, and we're also talking about wind gusts both with county, 50, near 55 miles an hour. Other than that, back here in South Central Kentucky, just talking about those wind gusts that are likely making some damage. You see those radar estimates that are in front of you right there.
Yeah, 25-mile-an-hour winds in Bowling Green, 30-mile-an-hour winds in Nashville. Cookville is to the east of that line, 21-mile-an-hour winds in Suffolk to the east of the line, 13-mile-an-hour winds. But we are seeing those winds converge. That's the cold front that crossing I-65 as we speak. It's going to continue to march on to the east. We'll go back to radar mode now to see the latest on that. Most of the people should be cleared from that in the next few minutes. And then we will go back to regular program. If we have more tornado warnings, of course, we'll be back on the keep you informed. Of course, we as long as we need to. We are looking at this. Maybe looking a little less defined in some areas, but still watching for potential of maybe a little bit of a bow to the east of Franklin right now. And that storm to the northeast. Folks, you can see some pretty heavy storms out there tonight. That's actually moving into Kentucky. That's how they normally run. And so things that are in Tennessee, if you're close to the border, normally go into Kentucky as they move to the northeast. This line continues, though, to move on off to the east. Michael, what do you have for us right now?
We are hearing from people that are west of the I-65 corridor and west of 65 as well, asking if they are in the clear for right now. Got a few people even talking from Franklin, Bowling Green, even some in towards northern Barron County, wondering when this will be coming across.
Yeah, well, the next few minutes we're going to see these storms move across. I'll put a fresh track on it for you, just what's going on. But right now we're seeing this line of storms basically move from the southwest to the northeast, and that's why it's good to update this tracker from time to time. Scottsville, it's up to 15, so about 2 more minutes. Barron River Lake, 11:32. Glasgow, 11:52. So you still have about 50 more minutes before the storm moves in. Sometimes they slow down just a little bit. Excuse me. They change shape, and that's why sometimes these times are updated. But Scottsville, not too long from now, 12 more minutes, you will see this main line of storms moving through. A lot of people will start to experience some rain ahead of that storm. You do get 12 minutes. This line change shape a little bit, kind of hopscotch around a little bit, and it actually becomes a little less defined once again, it looks like. So right now, consider a severe, but it's looking a little less defined. The area just to the south, they'll be dropping the warning pretty soon. Still part of the severe thunderstorm warning that includes supplemental real estate south of Munford down the Tennessee border. This area to the east of Glasgow still looking. It's holding together well. It looks like maybe try to break apart as we head into the late night hours tonight. Here, not hold together quite as
For heavy rainfall, of course, we see that this line that has been coming. We're only projecting a but just not just a little bit more toward Ohio. They are well about a quarter when it comes to that rain, but an update when it comes to that.
The tornado warning has now been dropped from Hart County. Reveal some good news there. You still have some heavy storms that are on. You have thunderstorm warnings. There's area need to. However, we're going to be able to all flags. This move on out of our viewing area. We're going to return to the regular. We'll be back to tell you about it. Of course, we'll be. Good night, Steve. Everyone.
I said to myself, oh my God, what a...
Darkness coming. Yes.